What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So there is an announcement of some kind coming up later on this morning for the Summer Game Fest, and it's being kind of hyped up right now, so I'm going to keep an eye on that, and if it is really big, as people are saying right now, we'll probably be doing some coverage this afternoon, so keep an eye on the channel so you can stay up to date with that. Today, though, we have some things to go over, which includes Capcom, who seems to be painting a pretty big picture for their investors with some big-time releases coming up this year. They're really trying to push a ton of units, more so than they have in the past couple of years with other big releases. It's interesting there. And then, did we see Sony accidentally reveal when the PlayStation 5 was coming out? Specifically, I guess you'd say its release month or release date. We'll go over that because that was circulating big time online yesterday. As always, guys, if you enjoyed these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if you're brand new here, hit that red subscribe button down below as we head towards 500,000 subscribers. And we're going to start today with Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2. This, of course, was announced yesterday, and I did a video on that as well, going over some of the gameplay details and my thoughts on what I saw in roughly the 2-minute or so trailer that did have some gameplay. And after that, we had more gameplay come out on various outlets and even some YouTube channels, so it was pretty cool to see everyone talking about Tony Hawk Pro Skater once again. But there was one other piece of information that was pretty interesting, and that is a collector's edition. And you know what? I saw the collector's edition and I said, oh, that's kind of neat, but then I saw the price and I was a little surprised because it's not bad, actually. You can see the collector's edition here. GameStop had it posted at $99, and it comes with, of course, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, the game, the Digital Deluxe Edition content, which appears to be, for the most part, I think an extra character, some extra retro outfits for Tony Hawk and a few others, and then also some retro content for the Create a Skater mode. But the biggest thing there, as you can see, is a limited edition full-size Birdhouse skateboard deck. That's actually pretty impressive for the collector's edition, and I don't skateboard, but you know what? It's not bad. And for anyone who does, that'd be kind of neat to have just as like this really cool deck that you can technically skate around on. So I might look into it, to be honest, because even if I don't use the deck, I can technically hang it up somewhere. It's just kind of neat. Oh, and we have to mention, of course, after Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 got announced, Skate 4 decided to start trending on Twitter. It's really funny because whenever skateboarding stuff gets brought up, Skate 4 is always brought up. It doesn't matter. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, what about Skate 4? Skater XL, what about Skate 4? Sessions, what about Skate 4? It always comes up, and EA has to see this, right? There's been talks about how Skate 4 has been worked on in the background at times, canceled, put on hold, brought back, all of this going on in development, and I'd like to think that EA wants to get Skate 4 done and out. But, it's weird to me that Skate 3 recently turned 10 years old. That's right, it is now 10, and we're still talking about a possible sequel to it. It's crazy to me. But yes, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 came out? Cool. Skate 4 is going to trend on Twitter now. Also, while we're looking forward somewhat to Last of Us Part 2, the game that I've been really excited for is Ghost of Tsushima, and it looks like we're going to get an extended look at it through its own state of play, which is good. I am very, very happy to start seeing these these specific state of plays for a game, right? Kind of like Nintendo, of course, with their directs that are specific to a game, but you can see the tweet here where Sony made the announcement saying State of Play's next episode is dedicated to Ghost of Tsushima. Tune in Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific time, and it appears to be for roughly 18 or so minutes of full-on gameplay. That's great. Like, if they just drop us in and walk us through part of a level or a mission or some of the open world even, that's all we really need. People keep asking for gameplay around this game, and it's going to be funny because Microsoft talked up, of course, gameplay for that Series X event, and it looks like Sony is going to be the one that shows up on Thursday with actually quite a bit of gameplay for Ghost of Tsushima. So I'm looking forward to it because I want to see more of this game, and it looks like Thursday we will. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. We're going to start right away with Capcom, who's actually been on a bit of a roll recently. They keep releasing some pretty good remakes with Resident Evil, even though Resident Evil 3 wasn't like a great overall remake compared to what it was originally on the PS1, because of course they had to cut out some content and all of that. There's no doubt that it was still a high quality release, and the RE engine keeps paying dividends for them because that game still it looks fantastic. And they also of course use that engine on Resident Evil 2, which is a very good remake. Everyone really liked that, and some even thought it should have just outright won Game of the Year last year, yeah, when it came out. But it looks like Capcom is going to be pushing even harder in its current fiscal year, as it did mention to investors for the outlook going forward that they are looking to move 28 million units this fiscal year, and the way they're going to do that is with surprise video game releases, specifically several major titles releasing this fiscal year that we're currently in, ending March 31st, 2021. So what does Capcom have for us? That's the big question now, because 28 million units is quite a bit for them, considering that would be more than they got out of like the year of Monster Hunter World, which is a runaway success for them, more than Resident Evil 2, or more than this previous fiscal year. They are trying to do something big, and it does bring up the idea of some games they could do. Now, I do think a Resident Evil game like Resident Evil 8 is pretty much a lock, and that will most likely do pretty good numbers, I would say, for them. But the big one, and I think this is kind of what could happen here, is they'll probably do something with Monster Hunter, whether it's a Monster Hunter game for the Switch and then another expansion for Monster Hunter World. That is very, very possible. I don't know if they'll do a whole nother Monster Hunter World game, like a full sequel to it. They absolutely could, but if they have 2 Monster Hunter games, even if it's an expansion and then a Switch-only game that they've been working on and developing, both of those come out in the same fiscal year, that would be some big stuff there. That would certainly bring in a lot of sales, but you also have to remember they have other franchises that would be not like, I guess you'd say, quote-unquote AAA games, but would also work towards adding up to that overall total, like say Mega Man X9. Look, there's been talks about a Mega Man game being in development somewhat, right? We've heard about this. So I'd like to think it's X9, but it could also just be another Mega Man game. That's very possible. They could do that, kind of tack on the success of the most recent one, which Capcom was pretty happy with the sales there. But they could also do something like, I don't know, Phoenix Wright. They could do something with Ace Attorney. I guess that's very possible. The thing with Capcom is they have so many games and IPs right now. They could do anything. I mean, they could even do something crazy and have another Devil May Cry ready to go, right? It's possible, you know? So Capcom looking to make some big moves coming up, which means we'll probably see quite a bit of them this summer, whether it's the Summer Game Fest, or what if Capcom has their own event? Like they would have been at E3, but what if they just say, you know what, we're just going to get together and we're just going to do our own event? That would be pretty big. Otherwise, maybe they'll just show up at Sony, right? They could just do that, and then maybe they'll show up at Microsoft as well. But look forward to some big things from Capcom, because they've been getting on a roll, and it looks like they're going to push really, really hard this fiscal year. Next up, let's talk about the PlayStation 5, which is a system that is still pretty mysterious. Obviously, online, everyone's wondering, when is Sony going to show this thing? The word is probably in the first half of June, there'll be a big blowout event with a ton of first-party games and some third-party games, which is going to be pretty interesting. They're apparently going big in June, all right? So keep an eye out for that one. But another question has been, when will this thing release? Because of course, people have been talking about the current situation with the pandemic and the virus and how that could mess up manufacturing. But Sony keeps saying holiday, over and over again, right? Oh, it's definitely coming out in the holiday. Don't worry, holiday 2020, it's coming out. Well, they may have accidentally mentioned at least some sort of release time, release date. And this was interesting because it popped up on a job site. So they were putting out requests for jobs. Of course, people could sign up, put their application or put their resume in and see if they can get the job. Well, check this out. This was a description for the job here. Gamatsu actually pulled a lot of this info together because it was in Japanese, so we had to try to translate it through Google Translate, but Gamatsu took care of all of that here. You will handle the prototyping and purchasing of PlayStation hardware products, choose the optimal suppliers from domestic and overseas partners, cooperate with the design and quality assurance departments on specification, adjustments, and production capacity for hardware parts, and build up the October 2020 due PlayStation 5. Interesting. So We don't really know, obviously, what month it's coming out. A lot of us, myself included, think November is that release month, that release window. But what if Sony decided to try to jump out in front of Xbox and drop the thing in October? Could they do that? Yeah, they could, as long as they had a game ready to go that would launch alongside of it and just get it out the door. But you'd also have to keep in mind it could make it even more limited because they'd be moving up that release date obviously closer now, when they'd be working to try to get these systems done for hopefully a 1 million unit launch that I still think is in November, but October would be interesting. However, Sony did respond to Famitsu, who seemed to reach out for a comment on this job listing that popped up, and Sony fired back saying it's an error. It's not October, we'll let you guys know, but right now it's holiday. And I have to say, people online weren't really buying it. There is the idea that they accidentally leaked it out and that it is coming sooner than we thought in October. But I do have to wonder, why would someone who's posting on like a job recruitment site for Sony, because it is posted by Sony, would they necessarily know that it is in October, or even the release date, the release window? Would they really know anything outside of holiday? I have a feeling that Sony is being very, very careful with who knows when this date is or when the month is for the release of the PS5, because we've heard that they are being very, very careful with what the public and specifically what Microsoft know when it comes to the pricing and, of course, that release time. So I do think it's possible that the system could come out in October, but I'm still leaning towards a worldwide launch in November with hopefully a decent amount of stock. I'm still hoping they can get 1 million units out in the first 24 hours as they did with the PlayStation 4. But again, current situation in the world with supply chains, manufacturing, and all of that, it's going to be a challenge. But we'll see. I don't think we're going to have to wait too much longer till we find out more information about the PlayStation 5. Also, while we are on the topic of the PlayStation 5 and Sony going forward into the future here for them, they decided to introduce a new brand and what's kind of like this little introduction video that I guess will be playing on pretty much any of their first-party games that are developed with Sony being the first party, of course, or, as they say, studios for hire at the direction of Sony. So if they bring in a company to do work for them, but it is pretty much under the umbrella of Sony and they just bring them in and pay them, but it's specifically for their platforms and it has, I guess, that Sony quality, seal of quality on it. This video, as you're seeing here, will be part of it. Now, it is very Marvel, I guess you'd say. Everyone is pointing that out, that it looks very much like a Marvel movie introduction, and it does, but they say that it's more or less inspired by their own games, which, all right, sure, I guess, Sony, whatever you say. But what's interesting about this is they do say that it's not necessarily on just PlayStation platforms. It could also have been the Horizon Zero Dawn PC release. They mentioned that. So that tells me that this is more or less just going to follow their games around that have that Sony seal of quality, but it will not be ready and shipping with games like Last of Us Part 2 or Ghost of Tsushima or Horizon Zero Dawn PC. This appears to be them getting ready for that PlayStation 5 reveal, and this will be going on pretty much every other game going forward now from Sony. So PlayStation 5 games, yes, this will play in the beginning and they'll have the nice little video and the little PlayStation symbol for PlayStation Studios. And as they say, it's a good way for them to brand and let the consumers know, yes, this is a high quality PlayStation first party product. Even if it's not necessarily on a PlayStation device, like Horizon Zero Dawn on the PC will not be when it launches. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about one of the craziest monetization strategies I've ever seen from a game. This is something else. So a while ago, we had the Culling, then we had the Culling 2, and these are like Battle Royale games that I didn't really care too much about. I didn't look into them. I'm not a big Battle Royale person. I'm just really not. But now we have the Culling Origins, which is coming back on the 14th, which is tomorrow, and well, check this out. This is their monetization strategy. So if you've already bought the game or downloaded it when it was free to play, you're good. You can just download the Culling Origins. I believe the game retails for $6 right now, so you do have to buy the game. But then we have this list of monetization here that you have to remember and figure out and even strategize around somewhat. So the way this is going to work, players can play one match online each day. And this is from PC Gamer, who went ahead and made the bullet points here to make it easier to follow than even the company made it to follow. Players can play additional matches through the following means. You can win an online match that grants an online match token, or you can buy packs of online match tokens. That would be 3 tokens for $1, 10 tokens for $3, or 20 tokens for $5. And then you can also just buy an online pass that will give you unlimited online play, which is 7 days for $2 or 30 days for $6. That's right. This is a game that you buy that is then pay to play for Battle Royale. You literally need to get tokens to put in the machine so that it starts up and then you can go online and play against other people. This is super weird. This is on the Xbox, by the way. So that's what I saw anyways. It's launching on the Xbox tomorrow, Xbox One, One X and all of that. What? That is super weird. And according to them, this will allow players to have a good experience and keep their experience going online. No, you play once and you're done unless you want to spend money. People just go find something else to do, like, I don't know, go play Fortnite or Warzone. It's not like that, like, there's already a lot of competition right now, and you're paywalling your game? I don't get it. It's the Culling. It'll probably be gone next week. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Robert saying, Bethesda is strange, shows up during the launch of the Switch with Skyrim and becomes any Nintendo fan's favorite third-party publisher. Why then not just keep on going with additional open-world games like Fallout 3 and 4 and so on, instead of putting everything on the disaster that was Fallout 76? Some of these companies have just fallen in love with the idea of service-based games. I think GTA 5 and Grand Theft Auto Online specifically is what a lot of these companies looked at and said, well, can we do that? Because that makes Take-Two and Rockstar so much money that they don't really release that many games anymore, not like they used to back in the PS2 days and even kind of the 360 days, right? Like, what happened to Midnight Club? Someone tell me. But that's why. So you see even Bethesda try to jump on board with that rather than just make games over and over again to sell. They really wanted Fallout 76 to work, and unfortunately, the Creation Engine rejected online services. So we got Fallout 76. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button, it really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it's Capcom and their big fiscal year coming up. What do you think they're going to release? Do you think they have plans for all these different platforms, a ton of IPs? Let me know, guys, down below. And then what about that PlayStation 5 potential leak? Do you think it's coming out earlier in November, like in October, or you think they're pretty much set for a mid-November release? Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.